The night sky of planet Solara was glowing with 2 blue moons. It was a rare night, known only once every cycle. The local alien people, the Tamari, called it the Night of Temi night, when bonds were made, hearts were opened, and trust was given soul to soul. Leo, a human engineer, stood near the edge of the snow forest, holding a broken sensor in his hand. He wore a heavy jacket, his breath turning to mist in the cold night air. He had been working at the human-alien outpost for the last 3 months, fixing things, mapping the terrain, and trying to stay away from trouble. But tonight felt different. There was a soft sound behind him. Not the wind, not an animal. A whisper, quiet and shy. He turned. A small alien girl stood there under the glowing blue moons. She had soft gray skin, large glowing eyes, and white braided hair that reached her shoulders. She wore a ceremonial robe, thin and flowing, with tiny lights woven into the fabric. Her hands were shaking slightly. Leo blinked. "Ah, hello." The girl didn't answer at first. She looked down at her feet, then back at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Will you come into my tent?" Leo was confused. "Your tent?" Nodded, then looked away. "It's my first Temi night. I chose you." Leo's heart skipped. He had heard about Temi night. Some kind of bonding ritual, important to the Temeri. But humans were never involved in it. It was private, sacred. "I don't think I should," he said, gently. "I'm just a guest here." But she looked up at him, her voice shaking. "Please, I don't want to be alone tonight." There was something in her eyes, fear, hope, maybe both. Leo hesitated, then gave a small nod. "All right," he said. "Lead the way." She turned quietly and walked toward a small hill. At the base of it was a glowing tent made of soft material, shining softly under the moonlight. It looked like it was made of light itself. Leo ducked inside behind her. The inside was warm. There were soft pillows on the floor, tiny hanging lights, and a gentle smell of wildflowers. In the center was a small glowing crystal. The girl sat cross-legged and motioned for him to sit across from her. "My name is Sci, she said quietly. "I'm Leo," he replied, sitting down carefully. "You really sure about this?" Sci nodded slowly. "The Temi is a sacred night. We open our minds, our hearts. We show our soul to the one we choose. I was told to pick someone from the village, but I chose you." Leo swallowed. "Why me?" She looked down, touching the edge of the crystal. "Because you're the only one who looked at me like I mattered. The others, they see a shy girl. Quiet, weak. But you smiled when I passed. You helped me when I dropped my data scroll. You said thank you when I brought food to the outpost." Leo blinked. That had just been simple kindness to him. But to her, maybe it had meant everything. Soraya continued this night. "It's not about love. It's about trust. I trust you. Will you stay?" Leo didn't answer right away. Outside, he could hear the wind moving through the trees. Somewhere far, the sounds of drums from the village echoed. Others were dancing, laughing, celebrating. And here he was, inside a glowing tent, with a tiny alien girl who had risked everything to invite him. He nodded slowly. "I'll stay." Soraya smiled softly. She reached into a small pouch and took out a thin ribbon made of silver threads. She placed it gently in his hands. "This is my soul ribbon," she said. "You keep it. It means I trust you." Leo looked at the delicate ribbon in his hand, then looked at her. "Protect it." Soraya looked down shyly, her cheeks darkening in her people's way of blushing. But before either of them could speak again, something outside made the tent shift. A low sound. Heavy footsteps. Soraya's eyes widened. No, they followed. Me. Leo's body tensed. "Who?" She looked at him, fear returning to her voice. "If they find you here, they'll say I broke the law. They'll cast me out. Or worse." Outside, angry voices rose. Shadows moved around the tent. Soraya grabbed Leo's hand. "Hide," she whispered. "Please, hide now." Without thinking, Leo crawled behind the tall cushions. His heart beat fast. His breath silent as the tent flap began to lift. Soraya stood tall, her face calm, her voice steady. This night was only beginning. Syria stood in front of the glowing tent's entrance, her small frame blocking the view inside. The shadows outside moved again, but the voices did not come closer. After a long moment, the footsteps faded into the snow. She let out a shaky breath behind the cushions. Leo didn't move. He stayed quiet until he heard her whisper softly, "They're gone." He slowly stood up, brushing snow dust from his jacket. Who were they? Soraya turned to him, her glowing eyes still full of fear. "Clan watchers. They must have followed me when I left the village alone." "Why would they do that?" Leo asked, confused. Soraya looked down. "Because tonight is Temi, and I wasn't supposed to invite anyone, especially not a human." Leo frowned. "Why? I thought this was about trust." "It is," she said gently, "but only within the clan. You're an outsider, choosing you. It's forbidden." Leo sat on a soft pillow, thinking hard. Then why risk it? Soraya walked over to the center of the tent, kneeling before the glowing crystal again. She placed her hands around it, and the light grew warmer, softer. Her voice was low and careful. "I'm not like the others. I don't speak loud. I don't fight. The others, they laugh at me. They say I'll never complete the Temi. That no one would choose me." She paused, "So I chose for myself." She looked up at Leo, her voice more steady now. "I watched you. You're gentle. You fix things without being asked. You smiled at the children. You didn't stare at me like I was strange. You just saw me." Leo's chest felt tight for a moment. He had come here as an engineer, not expecting anything more than cold nights and broken machines. Now this small alien girl was sharing a moment of trust, more sacred than anything he had seen on Earth. He leaned forward. "Soraya, I don't want to cause you trouble." Her eyes softened. "You didn't. You're the first one who made me feel safe." She reached into a small bowl beside the crystal and pulled out tiny white beads. "These are memory beads," she said. "We share them to show moments that shaped us. I'll show you mine first." Leo watched as she pressed the bead to her forehead. The bead glowed faint blue. Then she handed it to Leo. He touched it gently. A rush of images filled his mind, not like a movie, but like feelings. Loneliness, a quiet child watching others play. Cold nights by herself. The sting of words whispered by others, and then the warmth of his smile. That day, she dropped her scroll. Leo swallowed hard. The bead fell silent in his hand. "That's what you showed me?" he asked softly. Syria nodded, her eyes wet. "I don't know how humans show memories, but this is how I show truth." Leo slowly reached into his jacket pocket. He didn't have beads, but he had a tiny photo, faded, crumpled. It was of his sister. She had passed away years ago. He handed it to her. "She was the only one who believed in me," he said. "When I joined the space program, everyone laughed, said I wasn't smart enough. But she said, 'You belong out there.'" He smiled sadly. She was right. Syria took the photo with gentle hands. "She sounds like someone I would have liked." The tent was quiet for a long time. The crystal between them hummed softly. Then Soraya pulled out something wrapped in silk. She opened it carefully, revealing a Tamari heartstone, a rare gift only offered once in a lifetime. Its color changed depending on the bond. "This is mine," she whispered. If it turns silver, it means the bond is real. She placed it between them. Nothing happened at first, but slowly the color began to shift, from gray to soft silver. Siraya gasped. It's working. Leo blinked. What does that mean? It means I was right to trust you. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed outside the deep horn of the village. A warning call. Siria's face turned pale. That's the trial horn. The elders know I left. They're calling everyone back. She stood quickly, wrapping her robe tighter. Leo stood too. What happens now? If I return alone, they'll question me. If I return with you? She paused, looking into his eyes. They might ban me forever. Leo looked at the crystal, the silver stone still glowing. Then back at her. Then let's go together. Her eyes widened. You'd walk with me into that? He nodded. You chose me tonight. Now I choose you. Siraya took a deep breath, then gave a small smile. Then come. Let them see us. Together. Under the light of the twin blue moons, they stepped out of the tent. Hand in hand, the cold wind hit their faces, but neither let go. Siraya and Leo walked side by side across the frozen field, the snow crunching under their feet. The blue moons still glowed above them, casting soft silver light on the white ground. Behind them, her glowing tent slowly faded into darkness. Ahead, the alien village waited silent and cold. Siraya's fingers trembled inside Leo's hand. But she didn't pull away. Her voice was low, nervous. They'll be waiting at the flame circle. That's where the elders gather when there's a call. Leo nodded. I'm ready. She looked at him for a second. I'm not sure I am. Still, she kept walking. As they entered the village, curious eyes began to peek through windows and tent flaps. The Tamari people had smooth skin, tall ears, and markings on their faces that glowed slightly when emotions were high. Now, many of those faces showed confusion and anger. A human walking hand in hand with one of their youngest on Temi night. It was unheard of. At the center of the village stood the flame circle, a round stone platform with a glowing fire pit in the center. Around it stood the 5 elders, tall figures in silver robes, their faces painted with red lines of wisdom and law. One of them, Elder Kavar, stepped forward. Siraya of Clan Trell, he said, voice loud and deep. You left the village during Temi, and now you return. With him? Siraya lowered her head slightly. Yes, Elder. I chose him. Gasps. Came from the crowd. Another elder, a woman named Vale, frowned. You broke the sacred line. Temi is for Tamari only. You know this. I know, Siraya replied softly. But the old ways don't fit the new world. We share this land now, this life. If trust is the core of Temi, then why not trust a human? There was silence for a long moment. Then Kavar's eyes turned to Leo. Human. Did you know what this night meant? Leo stepped forward. Not at first, but she explained. And I didn't come for tradition. I came because she asked for someone to be with her, someone to understand her. I said yes because she matters. Siraya looked at him, her eyes wide, glowing softly. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some were touched. Others were angry. Suddenly, from the back, a loud voice broke the air. She's shaming us. Everyone turned. It was Daro, a young warrior from the village. Tall, proud, and jealous. He had once been chosen for a Temi, but had failed the bond. Since then, he had carried bitterness in his heart. He pointed at Siraya. She shares a soul stone with a human. Our enemies watch us, and now we betray our ways. Elder Vale raised a hand. Silence, Daro. This is not your place. But Daro didn't stop. He stepped into the flame circle and threw a black stone at the elder's feet. A challenge. "I demand the trial of the bond," he growled. "Let the fire judge if their bond is true, or let them be exiled." Soraya's face went pale. Leo looked at her. "What is that?" she whispered. "It's a test. Ancient and dangerous." Vale sighed. "The law allows it. If challenged, the bond must be tested by the flame spirits. If the bond is fake, the fire will burn the unworthy. If it is real, they will pass unharmed." Leo looked down. "Sounds painful." Soraya smiled sadly. "It's not the fire that hurts. It's the memories it shows." Kavar nodded. "Let it be done. At Moon Peak, the trial begins." Later that night, Soraya and Leo stood in ceremonial robes, holding hands. The flame circle burned hotter than before. The crowd gathered silently. A bowl of fire dust was passed to them. They had to inhale it together. Soraya looked at Leo. "This is the moment. Once we breathe it in, the fire will show your soul. And mine. If there's no truth, it will turn against us." Leo didn't hesitate. "Then let it see everything." Together, they breathed the dust. Everything around them faded. Leo found himself floating in a dark space filled with light memories. Sounds, feelings. He saw Soraya as a child, alone at the edge of the village. He saw her crying behind a stone. He felt her first laughter when she fixed a broken toy. Then he saw himself smiling at her, helping her pick up dropped scrolls. Sharing warmth by the fire. Sira saw his past to his childhood on Earth. His loneliness, his lost sister, the day he left home to reach the stars. They both stood in each other's pasts quietly, gently, without fear. When the vision faded, they were back in the circle. The fire had turned white. The elders looked shocked. Vale spoke first. "White? The fire has never turned white before." Kavar nodded slowly. "Only one meaning. The bond is pure and beyond clan lines. The law must change." Syria was shaking. Leo helped her stand tall. Darrow, humiliated, walked away without a word, as the crowd slowly bowed their heads in respect. Syria looked at Leo and whispered, "We did it." Leo smiled. "We did it together." The fire had turned white, but not everyone bowed, as Soraya and Leo stood in the flame circle. Proud but tired, a different kind of silence spread across the village, one that hid danger. Elder Kavar raised his hand. "The trial has spoken. This bond is real. The law must change." But behind the respectful faces in the crowd, eyes burned with quiet anger. Later that night, Soraya sat beside Leo near the outer edge of the village. They were given a guest tenta sign of temporary honor. But even inside, the air felt cold. "I don't trust them," Leo whispered. Soraya looked down. Some accepted it. Some only stayed silent because the fire told them to. Leo touched the edge of the soul stone she had given him. "Do you think Darrow will try something?" She didn't answer at first. Then said softly, "He always hated being second. Now I've broken tradition and made him look weak." She glanced toward the forest. "If we stay, he may do something terrible." Leo stood up. "Then we don't stay." Soraya looked up at him. "I didn't come this far just to let fear win," he said. "Come with me. We leave the village tonight." Her eyes widened. "But where will we go?" Leo smiled faintly. "Anywhere the stars can follow us." The twin moons were still high when the two figures slipped out of the village gate. They took only what they needed: warm cloaks, a food pack, and Soraya's soul crystal. They moved quickly, heading toward the snow forest, where few dared to go at night. The trees stood tall and twisted, their branches like frozen arms reaching for the stars. The snow crunched under their feet, soft but loud in the silence. Soraya kept close to Leo. No one comes here after dark. It's cursed, they say. Do you believe that? She shook her head. I believe in what I feel. And right now, I feel safer with you. They reached a small cave hidden under a rock ledge. Leo lit a small heat stick to warm the air. They sat close together, watching their breath rise like mist. But just as the warmth settled in, a low growl echoed through the trees. Leo stood, knife in hand. What was that? Soraya's eyes turned sharp. A Calroth, Leo had heard. Of them giant creatures, half shadow, half bone, drawn to emotion and warmth. No one had ever tamed one. Few survived encounters. The growl came again, closer. Don't move, Soraya whispered. They sense fear. Leo gripped the knife tighter. Too late. The creature stepped into the moonlight. Its body was long, black and white like smoke wrapped around armor. Its eyes glowed like blue fire. It didn't growl now. It watched. Soraya slowly reached into her robe. I have something. What? A bonding shard. For animals. My mother gave it to me before she died. Said it only works once, and only with true heart. She stepped in front of Leo and raised the shard. The Kelrath moved closer. Breath turned the snow to ice. Soraya whispered, please. See us. The shard glowed dimly. Then Bright Dot the creature paused. Its growl faded. Then, without a sound, it bowed its head and disappeared into the trees. Leo let out a deep breath. What just happened? Soraya looked at the fading shard in her hand. It accepted us. It saw no threat in our hearts. Leo gave a small laugh. We're lucky. She smiled. No, we're true. They stayed in the cave that night. Wrapped in one cloak, Soraya rested her head on Leo's chest. The soul stone between them pulsed gently, glowing in the dark. Before falling asleep, Sira whispered, when I was little, I used to dream of someone who would never let go of my hand. Leo didn't say anything. He just held her hand tighter. Morning came with snow falling softly outside. But as they stepped out of the cave, they saw something that froze them. Footprints. Not one, not two, but many. Heavy boots, wide feet, human. And Tamari, they found us, Leo said. Soraya stared into the trees. They followed. From the distance came shouting voices. Some human, some alien. They're searching, she said. We need to keep moving, Leo replied. They ran. Through trees and across frozen streams, their breath came out in short bursts. The snow got deeper. Then a sound of voice close behind. Soraya. It was Elder Vael. They stopped. She stood behind them, alone, holding up her hands. Stop running. You're not in danger. Leo stepped in front of Soraya. We don't believe that. Vael looked tired. I came alone. To warn you. Warn. U.S. There's a faction forming. They plan to erase the trial results. They want to call the fire false. Darrow is leading them. They plan to hunt you down and claim you fled in fear. Soraya's eyes narrowed. So we were right to run. Vael nodded. But if you keep running, they'll say you're guilty. Leo looked at Soraya. What do we do? Soraya looked back at the snowy trail behind them. We don't hide. She turned to the elder. Tell the council we return tonight. And this time, we speak not just for ourselves, but for every bond the old laws tried to bury. Vael smiled slowly. Then, I'll walk with you. The snow kept falling as the three figures walked slowly back toward the village. Soraya, Leo, and Elder Vael. Each step felt heavier than the last. Soraya held the glowing soulstone close to her heart, its soft light peeking out from beneath her cloak. Leo walked beside her, silent but alert, watching every movement in the trees. Vael, the elder once feared, now seemed small against the frozen forest. But her steps were steady. When the village walls appeared between the trees, Soraya stopped. We'll be waiting, she said. Leo nodded. Let them wait. They entered through the outer gate. No guards blocked them, but many eyes watched from doorways and rooftops. The drums were silent, the fire pits cold. Something was wrong at the center of the village, near the flame circle, stood a group of angry faces. Darrow was in front, his arms crossed, a blade at his side. Behind him stood warriors, some young, some older, but all filled with fire in their eyes. Darrow pointed as the trio approached. There she is, the one who defied our ways. And the human who corrupted her. Soraya stepped forward without fear. You mean the one who passed your sacred trial? Darrow scoffed. A trick. The fire was wrong. Or maybe the crystal was changed. You think we can just throw away centuries of tradition? For one glowing rock. Elder Kavar stepped into the circle. From the side, looking tired. Enough, Darrow. But Darrow ignored him. I've gathered support. More than half the council questions the trial. And more than half the village fears what this means. You bring outsiders into our most sacred rites. What's next? Human blood on our temples. Leo stepped forward now, his voice calm but firm. I didn't ask to be part of your tradition, but I was chosen. I didn't take, she gave, freely. The crowd murmured, sire. Ye held up the soul stone. This stone glowed white, a fire burned pure. My bond is true, whether you accept it or not. Darrow took a step forward, blade glinting. If you won't walk away, then you must face the marking of exile. Elder Vale raised her hand. You do not speak for the council, but the people support me. Darrow shouted, let them decide. There was a silence. Then, slowly, others stepped forward one by one. First, a young girl with glowing blue cheeks. Then an elder with a limp. Then a healer with gold markings. Each walked past Darrow, and stood beside Soraya. One of them, the healer, spoke. I remember when Soraya was born. Her mother died in silence. Her father left her with nothing but a name. She has suffered and remained kind. And now she stands brave when others fear change. She does not deserve exile. She deserves honor. Another spoke. If Temi is truly about truth, then why are we scared when someone tells it? A third. I have seen the white flame only once before, in my youth, and it led to peace. Now Darrow's anger cracked. Traitors, all of you. But the crowd had shifted. Elder Kavar raised his hand again. There is a path forward. A new tradition. One that keeps the heart of the old ways but allows new steps. He turned to Soraya and Leo. Will you take the test of guardianship? Leo blinked. What's that? It is the highest honor and the deepest trial, Kavar said. If you succeed, you don't just earn a bond, you earn the right to guide others in theirs. Sira looked up, but that hasn't been done in generations. Vale nodded. Maybe it's time it returns. Leo looked at Soraya, then back. At the council, we'll do it. Darrow growled. And what if they fail? Kavar turned. Then the bond breaks, and both are cast out. The snow fell harder. Soraya whispered Leo. Are you sure? He smiled softly. You trusted me with your soul. I can trust you with my future. She reached out and took his hand. Then we walked this trial together. Later that evening, as they sat by the fire near their guest tent, Soraya leaned on Leo's shoulder. You didn't have to say yes, she whispered. Leo looked into the flames. I did, because they need to see that this isn't weakness, that choosing someone, even if they're different, isn't wrong. Looked at the soulstone again. Its light pulsed gently. I never thought I would be the one to change things, she said. Leo chuckled. I never thought I'd fall for someone with glowing cheeks and 4 fingers. Soraya smiled, her eyes glistening. Behind them, the village was still divided. Some watched in silence. Some turned away. But something had begun. A bond. A question. A fire that could not be ignored. And it all started because a shy, tiny alien girl once whispered, "Will you come into my tent?" Morning light broke slowly over the snow-covered village, but no drums played. No children laughed. Only quiet. The villagers gathered again near the flame circle, but this time the fire was gone. In its place stood a wide stone path leading toward the mountain's end, touched for decades. The trial of Temi guardianship was about to begin. Soraya stood in ceremonial robes, her white hair tied with soul ribbons. Leo stood beside her, dressed in the traditional gray tunic given to only those chosen for high tests. The soul stone between them glowed faint silver in the cold air. Elder Kavar raised his staff. This trial was last walked by my grandmothers. Generation, few know its full path. Even fewer passed it. It is not about strength. It is not about knowledge. It is about truth. The crowd stood still. You must walk the path of spirit, face the mirror of soul, and finally reach the echo. Rock together. If one of you falls, the bond breaks. If one walks ahead of the other, the test ends. If you reach the final stone together, you will not only keep your bond, you will lead others who seek one. Soraya's heart beat hard in her chest. She glanced at Leo. He smiled gently. Let's walk. The path of spirit was a narrow trail lined with old carvings. Faces of Tamari ancestors watched from both sides, frozen in stone. The wind was sharp, whispering doubts. As they walked, Soraya began to feel heavy, not in body, but in mind. I hear voices, she said. Leo nodded. So do I. The path tested their memories. The whispering winds replayed moments of pain. Soraya heard her father leaving, her childhood full of loneliness. Leo heard his sister's final goodbye. The laughter of those who mocked him. They kept walking. When Leo stumbled, Soraya caught his hand. When Soraya cried quietly, Leo wrapped an arm around her shoulder. We're not alone anymore, he whispered. And the voices slowly faded. At the end of the path stood a large silver gate. No guards, no locks. Just light. They stepped through it. The mirror of soul stood alone in a quiet clearing. It was a massive crystal wall, smooth like glass, stretching from ground to sky. But it didn't show faces, it showed truth. Soraya stepped forward first. The mirror lit up, showing a small version of her, scared, quiet, hiding behind bigger figures. Then the image changed. It showed her pushing Leo behind her during the council fight. It showed her holding the glowing soulstone with shaking hands. Then, it showed her standing tall in front of the whole village, voice strong. Soraya gasped. She is me, she whispered. And I didn't even know it. Leo stepped forward. The mirror showed a boy sitting alone at a table. Then a young man working late at an empty desk. Then a memory of space travel, cold, mechanical, lonely. Then it shifted. It showed him brushing snow from Soraya's shoulder, smiling as she spoke, defending her before angry elders, holding her hand in the forest. Leo smiled. That's who I want to be. The mirror turned white, then faded away. They walked forward. At the edge of a tall cliff stood the final Testeco rock. A single black stone sat on a flat platform, surrounded by open air. A voice called out as they approached, an old voice, deep and echoing. To finish the trial, the voice said, "You must share the one truth you are most afraid to say." Soraya froze. Her hands shook. Leo looked at her gently. Go first. He stepped to the stone and touched it. I was afraid of loving anyone again, he said, his voice raw. Because when my sister died, I promised myself I'd never let anyone that close. The wind moved through the trees. The stone glowed soft blue. But I was wrong, he continued. Letting her and letting Soraya in was the best thing I ever did. Then he stepped back. Soraya came forward. She placed her hand on the stone. I always thought I was weak, she said. That I had nothing special to give. I stayed silent. I let others speak for me. Her voice cracked. But I have a voice, and I chose to use it. For him. For myself. The stone glowed white. The sky above them shimmered with soft light. The ground hummed gently. Then the stone cracked open. Then from it rose to glowing bracelets, shaped like intertwined stars. A new mark. A new bond. Elder Vale stepped forward from the shadows, tears in her eyes. You've done what many could not. You didn't just protect the bond, you transformed it. Back at the village, the reaction was different this time, as Leo and Soraya entered, wearing the bracelets of guardianship. The villagers knelt in respect. Darrow was gone, exiled by the council. The soul stone in Soraya's hand now pulsed not, just silver but gold. That night, under the twin moons, a fire was lit in the center of the village. It was not the flame of judgment, it was the flame of new beginnings. Soraya stood beside Leo, hand in hand, as others, young, old, alien, and human, stepped forward with soul stones of their own. A new age had begun, and it all started with a whisper, "Will you come into my tent?" The twin moons of Zalara hung low in the sky, glowing soft gold instead of cold blue. The old cycle had ended. A new one had begun. In the center of the village, the flame of new beginnings burned tall and bright, not for judgment, but for unity. For the first time in known history, humans and Tamari stood together in a circle, hand in hand. The snow still lay thick across the ground, but the warmth in the air came from hearts open and changed. At the center stood Soraya and Leo, now wearing the sacred bonded bracelet symbols not just of love, but of truth, of risk, of courage. Elder Kavar stepped forward and lifted his voice, loud and clear, yet soft with feeling. Long ago, our ancestors created Temi to protect the soul, to keep it safe, to keep it sacred. But in protecting it, we also locked it away. He looked toward Leo. This human walked our trials, passed through the mirror of soul, and stood at Echo Rock. He gave his truth to us, even when many did not wish to hear it. Kavar turned to Soraya, and this young one, once thought too quiet, too soft, showed us what strength truly means. Soraya's cheeks glowed faint blue. She lowered her head humbly, but Leo gently lifted her chin. "You deserve this," he whispered. Every moment of it. The villagers began to clap, not just with hands, but with glowing fingers, a cultural sign of full acceptance. The sound spread across the village like a song made of light. One by one, others stepped forward. A young Tamari boy with nervous eyes walked up to the flame. He held a half-finished soul stone. His voice was small. "Can I choose someone too? Even if they're not Tamari?" The crowd was silent. Soraya smiled gently. "You don't need to ask anymore. You just choose." The boy's eyes lit up, and he turned to a human girl standing nearby. That was how it started. Over the next few days, the village changed. The bond house, once a closed building used only by elders for testing Temi connections, was open to all human and alien. Its walls were decorated with new symbols, not carved in stone, but painted by hand. A new mural showed the twin moons above two figures, holding hands, one Tamari. One human, Soraya, was asked to teach others how to use memory beads with those outside their kind. Leo helped design communication tools for humans who didn't share. The Tamari mind-touch together. They taught not just how to bond, but how to understand. Still, not everyone agreed. Some elders left. A few families moved deeper into the forest, saying they preferred the old ways. But they did so without hate, only distance. And for those who stayed, something new bloomed. One evening, Leo sat outside their small new home near the edge of the village. The snow had melted around their garden space, where Soraya had planted soft-colored vines that glowed at night. She came outside carrying a cup of hot root, drink, and sat beside him. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked softly. Leo smiled. "I thought I would, but I don't." She tilted her head. "Why not?" He looked at her with warmth. "'Cause Earth never gave me what you gave me." She blushed, her cheeks glowing again. "What did I give you?" He leaned in closer. "A place to belong." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the stars above. Then a young voice called out, "Guardians, guardians." It was the little Tamari boy from the flame circle. He ran up, holding a soul stone, grinning. "I finished it. My bond is ready." Soraya stood with a smile. "Then tomorrow, you walk your first Temi with someone who sees you." Leo ruffled the boy's hair. "Just don't trip like I did." The boy laughed and ran off. Soraya looked at Leo. "Can you believe we almost ran away from this?" He laughed. "You did run." "You followed," she teased. "I had no choice." "You had my soul stone," he grinned. She leaned her head against his shoulder. "You know what Temi really means to me now?" She whispered. "What?" "It's not just a bond. It's a promise. That someone sees who you really are and doesn't walk away." Leo nodded. "Then, I promise." Soraya took his hand and squeezed it gently. "Me too." That night, under the now golden twin moons, the village sang a new song, slow melody, blending human hums with Tamari light tones, and in the center of it all, a one shy, alien girl, who had once whispered, "It's my first Temi," was now a guardian of all Temi bonds, and beside her, a human who had come only to fix machines, now helped fix hearts. It began with a whisper, but it ended with a fire the galaxy would one day remember.